How to prepare your franchise for sale. I'm Doug Luther, franchisee lawyer with Luther Lenard. When you're thinking about selling your business, you want to be thinking about this oftentimes years ahead of time of the actual sale. And there's a number of things you can do to maximize the value of your business and eventual sales price. First, think about cleaning up any liability. If you owe any money to vendors, if you have any lawsuits or active disputes or employee issues, it's best to resolve those things before you sell the business, and optimally years before you sell the business, so any related costs don't show up in your profit and loss statement. 2, clean up your bookkeeping. Make sure the bookkeeping is adequately and accurately identifying the costs you incur in running the business and the revenue that you generate. Any buyer is going to want to look closely through your profit and loss statements, and it's important that those accurately reflect your business. You also want to make sure that your tax returns are filed every year and that there's no existing tax liability. Third, I want you to think about maximizing profitability. When it comes to cutting costs, you have to walk a careful and delicate line, because if you cut costs too much, it can really damage the business. It's very likely that as you grew your business, you threw money at some marketing initiatives that didn't pan out, or maybe you hired somebody who ultimately didn't provide a lot of value. When you're looking to sell the business, it's generally not the time to be reinvesting your profits into growing it. It's the time when you want to be maximizing your profits. Now, most businesses sell at a multiple of EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, or SDE, which is seller's discretionary earnings. And that multiple is usually 3 to 5x. It can be even higher when we're talking about quick service restaurants with strong brands. So even a small change in profitability can lead to a large change in the valuation. For example, if a $200,000 change in profitability is at a 5x multiple, then that would lead to $1 million change in the value of your business. Lastly, I want you to be thinking about strategic buyers. As a franchisee, you're surrounded by them, and those strategic buyers are other franchisees in your system. And so you should be thinking about who are the franchisees in the system that are expanding and that are acquiring existing locations, because that's your most likely buyer. There's another benefit from that. When you structure a deal, the sales price is broken into 2 components. One is the upfront money, and the second is seller financing, where you're paying money over a period of years. And so the buyer may pay money for 3 to 5 years, which represents a substantial portion of the sales price. Now, if a franchise goes under, you run the risk of never getting that money. But if a franchisee is successful, you make sure that you're a lot more protected in getting the seller's financing paid over time. Now, if there are no strategic buyers in your franchise system, then you're gonna need to look outward. And oftentimes it's best to work with a business broker who can find someone who would be interested in that business, or otherwise a third-party listing website where you can put the business up for sale. When you're coming to that conclusion of selling your business, you're gonna need a letter of intent with the buyer. And then you're typically gonna need an asset purchase agreement or a share purchase agreement to sell the business. We're here to help you not only through those agreements and drafting them and negotiating them, but also with all parts of the due diligence process. If you're ready to sell the business, don't hesitate to reach out. If you have any questions or would like to discuss, please refer to our contact information in the description below. And if you found this content helpful, please like or subscribe to our channel.